In this lesson, we're going to work with some of the different ways you can view and work with your Excel spreadsheet in the workspace area. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's make sure that we've got our workbook open. We're on Gridlines and Viewing tab, and we're on the View menu right now to start. So there's a couple different ways to view your information within Excel. Now, most of the time, you're always going to be on what's called the normal view, and we probably haven't even deviated off of that to this point. If you look up here in the workbook views, there's 4 different views, and we're not even going to talk about custom views today. Those aren't really used that much anymore. But we're in the normal view, and that's just what you're used to seeing. You've got column headers, you've got row headers, you've got the grid lines there, everything we're used to. Let's go ahead and see what the page break preview is. Now, inevitably, if you go to print your worksheet out, it's not always going to fit neatly on one piece of paper. So what Excel has done without us telling it anything is it has said, here's where we're going to put page breaks. So down on row 48 is going to be the start of another page. That'll be page 2. And then it comes up here, and it can only fit A through E on one page. So the next page is going to be columns F through I, and then again, breaking in at 48. So we can see here, we're going to have 6 pages, and they're going to be a little bit choppy. Now, if you see the dotted lines, that's where Excel is going to put a page break. But here is where we can put our own page breaks onto a worksheet. So if we wanted to maybe have the split up here at coffee instead of down here at tomato sauce, if this works kind of like freeze panes. If you click on a cell, then we can put a page break in there. It'll be above and to the left of that cell. So let's go back to page layout, and in the page setup area, we're going to go to breaks, and here we want to insert a page break. And so you see what it did? Excel put a solid blue line there, and that means that that's a page break, but it's one that you've put in, and that's where Excel's going to start a new page every time, unless we put one above it. Now you can do the same thing on the columns. You can go up here, and maybe I want to only print out up to the quantity. So I could click here and insert a page break. And now we've got those breaks there. So how do you get rid of those? Well, if I'm touching my page break, I can go to breaks and remove page break. And if I'm not touching any more page breaks, I can go here and remove all page breaks. One last thing I want to show you, just because I told you it works like freeze panes. So if I click somewhere in the middle here and insert a break, that will insert it to the left and above of the cell I'm on. So that's what you do in the page break preview. Let's remove all the breaks and go to the next tab. Let's go back to the view menu, and the next one we're going to look at is page layout. Now this is really when you're working on something that's got to be print quality for a presentation or sending to a client or something. You've got a lot more detailed information. It's going to show you where the margins are on each side. This page layout view has a ruler on top of the column headings. You still have the column headings, but it has a ruler. It shows a distinction between page 1 and page 2 here, and you have rulers on the side. Here's another use case for this. What if you have company letterhead you want to print out the spreadsheet on, and it goes down to 1.5 inches? Well, you can just go here in Excel, come all the way down. So you see my ruler showing me at 1.5 inches now, and now I could right click and insert entire row so it goes down. And now I've got room to print out on my letterhead. Do the same at the bottom too if you want to make some more room down there. All right, Control Z to get that back. So those are the 3 main views that we'll be working in to update our spreadsheets. Now we looked on the view menu to get to those, but I'll also show you at the bottom right in our workspace area are shortcuts to get to all those. We've got page layout, page break preview right there, and we've got the normal view. So the next thing we're going to talk about is some of the elements that we're used to using on our worksheet. So on the view menu again, on the show grouping, we've got 3 more items that we can affect. We've got grid lines, headings, formula bar, and rulers grayed out. Can anybody tell me why? All right, well that's easy. If the ruler option is only going to be there on the page layout, because that's the only place they put the ruler. So if we want to turn the grid lines off, we can just do that, and now they're not showing. We want to turn the headings off on top, the row and column headers, we can do that. And we can get rid of the formula bar too. So we have a little bit more room to work. We don't have those elements showing that we're used to seeing and used to using. Now I can still do everything I could do before. I can type in here and I can hit return. I can modify things. I can edit right in that cell there. But sometimes the formula bar does give us some features that make it easier to edit and modify our worksheet. So that's one I really don't recommend hiding. So why would somebody hide it? I don't know, but the point of learning this is that if somebody does hide the formula bar, here's how you get it back. You just click that. Now, one other thing I want to say about these three is when you hide the formula bar, it hides it for every sheet in your workbook. So you see here, I go here. Whereas if you turn grid lines off or headings, they only apply to the sheet that you're on. So I've turned off headings and grid lines for this sheet. If I go to page setup, I still have grid lines and headings on. I can turn headings off for that sheet. I go over here, and they're back here for this sheet. Another thing that we want to talk about, and we've talked about a little bit before, is the zoom. So on your view menu, you have a zoom section where you can zoom in on things. Now I can just click on zoom, and it will give me magnification choices. I can go to 50, 70, 25, and go to 50, click OK. And it zooms it out. And then I can go back and zoom into 100%, or I can go here and bring back to 200, or I can type in a custom zoom. If you highlight some cells, you can zoom to that selection, and it will zoom in just on what you have highlighted. So let's go back to 100%. And another way to zoom that I think is much better, down here again you have the zoom bar in the bottom right where you can do plus and minus. But here's a really great trick. If you have a mouse or a trackball that has a roller on it, if you hold your control key down and use the roller, it zooms in and out just by using the roller on your fingertip. And this is what I use all the time when I'm zooming in and out. Well, that's it for this lesson. We went over the different ways to view your worksheet in Excel, how to zoom in and zoom out, and how to get rid of grid lines, headings, and formula bar. We'll see you in the next lesson.